So coming up this weekend, we've also got Blast Pro in Brazil.
In São Paulo.
Yeah.
One of my favourite places on earth. I've been a couple of times. It is an incredible metropolis. And it is a sprawling mess of houses and buildings. And it just goes on for miles and miles. You can't see the end of São Paulo. It's massive.
I've never visited South
massive.
America or Rio.
You need to. South America is such an amazing place.
Not this.
The most passionate people on planet Earth.
Really?
I love everyone from every different area and country in the world, but I've never met more passionate people from Brazil anywhere on planet Earth.
How are they doing in esports, though?
I think they're doing all right. I mean, they're a relatively small country, and I think that often gets overlooked. You know, we look at it and go, "Oh, Brazil, yeah, they're huge. It's all like
it's
giant
massive,
South
surely.
America." Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But actually, their esports scene. I mean, it's big. It's bigger than the UK, but it's still not massively successful. It's still not got huge infrastructure. There's still internet problems, there's still power problems, there's still all sorts of league issues and people fighting amongst themselves. There's a lot of issues in Brazil, in Brazilian esports.
But we do have MIBR.
But we do have MIBR, which is a classic old school name, revitalised by the Immortals group and looked after by Tommy and the boys over there. And it has just about the best Brazilian players of all time on it, for all in the cold era. And Taco now too is back, which is great from my point of view. I'm happy to see him come back. I mean, it's a fabulous team, and they're one of the few success stories when you look at it overall, right? The only time I've ever seen other Brazilians do well outside of Counter-Strike in the last 15 years was Karom 3D.
that's a very old name.
Yes. Well, she was at WCG, which for some reason the Brazilians always used to be really good at, and I don't quite know why. But you don't generally see them do well in a lot of other games. They're starting to do well in Dota now. Obviously, we've got Chaos and the boys from Chaos, and Pain previously in last year, and Infamous have been a big team coming out of Brazil. Brazilian players playing for Infamous over the last 15 years or so. So they've got some structure. They've got some teams. They haven't seen a great deal of success outside of Counter-Strike. But I'm now seeing it across the board. They are starting to, FIFA players, for instance. There's some fabulous FIFA players coming out of Brazil. And unsurprisingly, perhaps, it's football. They should be bloody good at FIFA. But it's taken them a while to get good at it. They haven't won a World Cup before. Don't think they will this year either. But there are a group of 4 or 5 players now, FIFA players, who are very, very good. Like world-class quality players coming out of Brazil. So I think it's a very exciting time for the country.
Well, this event, Blast Pro, has 6 very high-profile names.
Yes.
And nobody else. And a 2-day event.
Yeah.
So this is
it's a bit
really different.
Yeah, it is very different. I was very privileged to be asked to go and do a couple of these last year, host them. And I really enjoyed, actually, hosting in Copenhagen in particular, was the atmosphere and the crowd is different as well. And the reason is that it's more festival-like, I think, than a lot of the other events. In other words, it's kind of like it's a travelling show. Astralis are pretty much always there because they're refreshes and it's a refresh tournament, obviously. You've got FaZe, ENCE, Liquid, MIBR, and Ninjas in Pyjamas. So very popular teams. Not necessarily the best teams playing the best Counter-Strike right now, but very popular teams.
ENCE got a hell of a lot
were
of
fantastic,
fans
by the way, already.
At the last major.
And they absolutely deserve to be there. So don't think of it as they don't deserve to be there, they're not ranked high enough. It's not that kind of event. And on day one, they all play each other. Right, and it's played off stage. It's played on the stage, but there's no one in the arena.
Right. Yeah.
Day 2, and therefore the only day. So they have a 1-day arena event, effectively, where they fill the entire place. Now, there's a few things that are smart about that. One of which is that we do struggle on weekdays to fill arenas for esports.
Yeah, we've seen lots
before.
of events Thursday,
Absolutely.
Friday,
especially those ones that start Tuesday.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a few start Tuesday, and they are dead in China.
Well, everyone ought
if
to
they're dead in China, then they're dead everywhere, right? If you can't get Chinese people to come and watch esports on Tuesday, then you can't get anyone to do it.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's very smart. ESL have now done a very similar thing where they split their tournaments. So you have 3 days which are effectively off stadium and then 3 days which are in stadium.
Right.
And that's great as well because it means you can do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Generally, Friday's a good day for most people to come out or take a day off because it's close to the weekend. But even then, if it's not, it's okay to have it half full. Saturday and Sunday are usually then full at those events. So I think it's fine. Blast Pro take a different approach, though, in that they've got 6 teams. It's very hardcore. They can concentrate on just those 6 teams. They haven't got 16 to run around. Logistically, it's a magnitude of about 10 to look after 16 teams than it is to look after 6. Trust me, I've been there. So to look after 6, much easier logistically, much easier from a flight point of view, planning point of view, hotels, everything's lesser. Shuttles, drivers, chaperones, all of it is less, right? So much easier to manage and refresh. Don't forget, they've got some experienced people in there, people like Graham, for instance, who used to admin at ESL. But it's a relatively small team still, and they're still growing. So they can't do. They probably could do 16 teams, but they're doing it sensibly. They're starting off the way that, they can manage, right? So it's good, perfect application of resources. So they've got 6 teams. They narrow that down so that you get an experience the following day of the best teams at that event, and the flavour is there, right? And they always try and have a team like this one. They've got MIBR. They always try and have a team which is a local team to support. Space Soldiers, for instance, in Turkey. Yep. Astralis, obviously, in Copenhagen. MIBR here, because again, it makes more sense for the crowd, right? That's why you're going to sell tickets. It's smart. It's a good idea, but it's also about building stories and narratives and building in rivalries within that. So you can do that on a smaller circuit, whereas a larger circuit, there's more variance of results. So it's much harder. I mean, I think Intel did a great job with ESL doing the Intel Grand Slam. We lasted almost, 2 years, I think, with that, and it's still going. So there's an element of a storyline there, but Refresh have distilled it down to be a little bit more focused. Yeah. And therefore, it's nicer, because every time you go to one. They also have a different approach with talent.
Really?
Yeah. It was one of the first events I've been to in a long time, other than TV events that I've done, where we actually had proper briefings. Where we sat in an office and we sat down and we were told, this is the narrative we want you to use. These are the kind of vibe we want from the show. And it's very... and I hope I'm not kind of giving too much out here from Refresh's point of view, but I applaud them in the way that they approach that, because they're very much for the mainstream. Like, the hardcore will enjoy it anyway. I think that's their view, right? The hardcore will just come and enjoy it, and they'll enjoy the commentary and then enjoy the show.
Yeah, what's not to like? Astralis playing Liquid.
Right, exactly, right. So it's fantastic, right? So I think their view is they want to make it more open, so that when people come along and families come along, they can enjoy it. And they can enjoy it as a new person can enjoy it as well. So, different approach, completely different approach to others that have been around a lot longer, obviously. But also, without being too punny here, Nicholas, if you're watching, refreshing.
Oh, God.
That was bad, wasn't it? It was bad. Tell me that was bad. Tweet at me right now. Tell me that was fucking terrible.
I'm going to do it now.
Sorry, that was a really bad pun. But it's true.
Yeah.
It is actually very refreshing. I enjoyed working with them. Gave them a ton of feedback. I think there was certainly some stuff that we could have done better, for sure. But they're realistic about that as well, and I think they like that. I think they were very forthcoming about saying, look, please tell us what we've done wrong, or tell us how we can do stuff better. We want to learn. We want to get better. And they're producing a really good product.
Yeah, it sounds great. And they've also got a desk host who comes from League of Legends.
Yes, Sjokz. Yeah.
Who I've not watched her before, so I don't know.
So I was part of the original team at ESL that hired her.
Okay.
In 2013, 2012.
Oh, at the launch
2012, 2020, 12 or 13.
Oh, well, and very early on in the seasons.
It wasn't even begun. We brought her in just before, as a League of Legends person. She had no training as a host. She'd done some YouTube stuff. She had a great personality. She was very bubbly. She fit the part that Riot wanted in terms of a presenter, and then obviously she needed to grow into that, and she did that for the first year whilst we were all working together in ESL, and we used to do feedback sessions and what have you. So I know Sjokz really well, love her to death. I think she's a phenomenally talented host, an absolutely phenomenally talented host, and it's shown now over the last 4 or 5 years since she's been with Riot, and she's worked with some really top quality producers, and they've got the very best out of her.
Okay.
She went freelance this year. So she's now able to do other stuff, which is why she's able to then go and do something different. And I know that she wants to get out of her comfort zone. Her machine's very similar to that. We love pushing ourselves and seeing how far we can go as hosts, I think. And you often think that you can do this in any game. It's not always true, I don't think. I think you have to do it to find out. And so she's going to do Counter-Strike, and I think it's fantastic. I really do.
Well, we know, but there's a very different culture in every game, whether it's Dota, Counter-Strike, League, Overwatch, whatever game it is. Everything's very different. So, will she struggle to do Counter-Strike?
No.
No?
Nope. She won't struggle.
Okay.
She won't struggle at all.
There you have it.
And I think inevitably, I mean, the weird thing about this is it's a very short event. So it's a very 2-day punchy kind of event.
Right.
Day one, I'm sure she'll go through the same nerves that we all go through on day one as she gets used to it. But as soon as the light goes red and we're live, we tend to forget about all that crap anyway. So she'll ease into it on day one. Unfortunately, it's weird because normally what happens is you get a 3 or 4 day event and you can kind of ease into it day one. Day 2, you can feel a little bit more comfortable. Day 3, you're really on it. And day 4, you can knock it out of the park. She hasn't got that luxury. She's got to do that over a 2-day period. But I have no doubt about the fact that she will do that. And she'll go through that inevitable wave of being like, who the hell's this? Who's coming to my Counter-Strike? To, oh my God, she's amazing. I love her. She's brilliant. And then she'll say something slightly off and someone will go, oh, but she called Astralis Swedish. That's terrible. Shoot her immediately. Take her out the back and fire her. And then it'll go back off the chart and she'll be like the best host in CSGO ever. I want her back for every event. And she'll go through, she'll ride that wave. We've all done it, right? It happens to almost every brand new talent. Doesn't matter whether it's a host or a broadcaster in any shape or form, whether it's an interviewer, on-stage person, stage presenter, caster, analysis, doesn't matter who you are, you'll go through those inevitable waves. And sometimes in a very short space, like literally a 2-day period, you can literally check Reddit and go, Jesus, everyone loves me. Jesus, everyone hates me. Oh my God, I'm on fire. Oh my God, they love me again. Oh my God, they hate me. Oh my God, they love me again. This is amazing. And it happens to everyone in every game. I don't expect it to be any different. And it won't matter to her, I'm sure. I think she'll want to impress, obviously, because she's like that. She's very conscientious. But I have no doubt that she can do that job. She can literally go and do anything she wants to do in esports.
Okay, exciting times. I mean, we've seen the crossover the other way because Machine and Frankie actually
both went and did League of Legends.
LEC.
Which was, again, I want to give a shout out to Trevor, to Quickshot. Because it's his kind of vision to do that kind of stuff. And I think it's very brave, but I also think it's really, really clever as well, because it's, I just love the fresh injection on that. I don't watch League that often, I will admit, but it made me go and watch because it was familiar people. And I'm not saying that the people that they have on the regular shows aren't good. They are. They're fantastic broadcast talent. But giving it that fresh injection, I think it just it sparked everyone else on the show as well. I felt like it improved the entire show. And so kudos to Trevor for trying to do that kind of stuff. And it's very brave because it could have backfired horribly, could have gone completely wrong. But when you've got people like Machine and Frankie, frankly, it's not going to go wrong.
You sure? No
it's very difficult to not like those two in anything they do. Again, it's a bit like Sjokz. She's fantastic at whatever she's going to do. Machine, he's done other games. It's not like he's new to this. He's not I've only ever done Counter-Strike for 4 years. Oh, I've got to do League of... He's done League of Legends. He did League of Legends like 5 years ago.
Did he?
Yes. He did League of Legends and he commentated on it. He came to me one afternoon. Again, we worked together at ESL. We're very good friends, right? People don't realise this about us. They think we're enemies. Oh, we're all fighting over Counter-Strike. We're not. We're really not. We're very genuinely pleased for each other when we get each other's gigs. Funnily enough, we also have done some swaps in the past. I've said to him, oh, by the way, I'm not doing this gig because I've got this. And he's like, oh, great, I can negotiate rate for that. Then I'll go, oh, by the way, I can't do this because I'm off to the hospital and I need you to do... All right, I'll go for that one. So we've swapped stuff before. It's like, we're friends. Anyway, besides that, he's also multi-talented. He's done a ton of other games. Right? This kid... Back in 2012, I called him up a week before Gamescom and said, can you come and do some Rainbow Six for me? I'm in the shitter. I need a guy. And he went, yeah, I guess. And he flew over and he did an amazing job for them, right? That ultimately led him to working at ESL. We eventually recruited him at ESL. And he did all sorts of games. He did World of Tanks, he did Call of Duty, he did League of Legends, did Counter-Strike. He's done all sorts of games. He's multi-talented.
But
so doing League isn't a big deal for him.
It's a little different because League people can be like, that guy's tainted by Dota.
Oh, for crying out
loud! They will.
There? Well, sure, and I'm sure he got grief from Dota fans going, "You're a traitor! You went to League of Legends. I've done League of Legends, you morons."
Have you?
Yes. I did Intel Extreme Masters. How can you not do League of Legends by doing Intel Extreme Masters? I posted a picture the other day of me and Sjokz 6 years ago. I couldn't believe it was 6 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
Of me and her hosting the World Championships together.
Yeah.
And that was League of Legends. I was holding a Tons of Damage t-shirt.
Fine.
Like, we're hosts. We're esports hosts. Get used to it. Stop giving people grief about doing other games. Doesn't mean they don't love your game just as much as the game they're doing. We're esports hosts.
Yeah.
Sorry, ran over.
No, I hope she does a fantastic job.
She will. Just as Frankie and Machine did on the League.